just about almost all artists, writers had tuberculosis at some point or other. I think Chekhov had tuberculosis. I mean, it just was the disease everybody had. But he didn't get it because he was a Bohemian. He got it because in England, coming from a provincial place, the milk was always very suspect and tainted because it was easy from, I don't know how it worked, from the way cows were milked and so on before pasteurization and that sort of thing was very widespread. To drink fresh milk from a milking situation, you could easily get, most people from farms had tuberculosis. It was I think even today they give patch tests in schools for tuberculosis, don't they? And a lot of people coming from other countries here are very, the health authorities here are very worried over that because of, the commonness of that disease. So he had it from a very young age. Because in England it was an endemic before the modern period. My wife would kill me if I said it, but her father had tuberculosis. And he came from a farm in Scotland. And I knew him quite well. And he only had one lung by the time I knew him because they had operations by that time. But he survived it. But he was in the generation that could survive it. And that would be in the period, I would say, of the 40s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, after Lawrence. So by the 50s, people were surviving, but before that time, most people were dying of it. Lawrence died of it. That's what makes it so interesting, so vivid, because there's a dying man really writing this book that you're reading in Trusting Places. And really, how many have seen at least the movie Lady Chatterley's Lover? If you haven't read the book. Yeah, there's no movies are any good as far as I'm concerned. No, the movie stinks, but it's a movie anyway. You can get it out of the movie store. You're kidding me? Is it good? Well, where is there a good movie? That's only an occasional thing that happens. Okay. Anyway. What do you mean? Is she all naked and stripping in the movie and doing all this sex somersaults and things? No, I don't think so. Anyway, the plot of D.H. Lawrence of Lady Chatterley's Lover. If you've read the book, Sir Clifford, who is the wife of the husband of Lady Chatterley, is in a wheelchair. And he's supposed to be wounded from World War I, one of the walking wounded from that terrible war. And he's the owner of coal mines in central England and stuff like that. And his wife is still not yet ready to throw in the towel, shall we say. And he is not performing, okay, in that way, you get it? And the gamekeeper, who's keeping Clifford's estates, is able to perform in that way, you get it? And so the book is about the relationship of Lady Chatterley with the gamekeeper, going to his cottage on the estates and so on and so forth, and the sexual activity that occurs in that environment. And that was quite shocking to you. That's nothing now. I mean, you just turn on the TV and all you do is see half the stages are porn, right? So, I mean, that's nothing for you. That's like mild, soft porn maybe at the most. But that was considered so shocking back in the 30s and 40s that it created this sexual revolution situation. The success of that penetrating and breaking the bars for this kind of expression. I mean, you wouldn't have Playboy magazine, not that you should. You wouldn't have Playgirl. You wouldn't have all the spin-offs of that kind of Penthouse and so on. You wouldn't have any of those things. Those all appeared after these lawsuits. So Lawrence had, indirectly or directly, a tremendous, probably more influence than you could call him a prophet. And he's not a dirty old man like the publisher of Penthouse. He's a really explosive, visionary sort of writer. He has his own vision of life. And if you know anything, again, about that period, some of you do, some of you don't, he, I think he doesn't say it, but I think it's clear. A lot of people at that time were very influenced by Nietzsche. Now I say, who is Nietzsche? Not that I think it's so important to know. I can usually not spell his name, but today, because my friend gave me the pen, I'm in good shape, so I can put it up there correctly.
Is that S-C-H-E?
Z-S-C-H-E. Friedrich Nietzsche. He was influencing a lot of people in the 1880s, including Hitler, which is why he's not really thought very much about today by most people who don't like him. But he's not a Nazi, actually. Some of his ideas could give rise to people who think in a Nazi-like fashion. But he was more of a romantic, visionary poet sort of person. He combined that with philosophy. It's the perversion of his ideas that become Nazism. For instance, his idea is what has come to be called in America the Superman. In fact, there wouldn't be any Superman comics without Nietzsche. That's a kind of joke on Nietzsche, Superman comics. His philosophical ideal is the Superman. And of course, we have the Nazi Superman and so on and so forth that grows out of all that. But he isn't thinking about that. He's really influenced by Darwin. Now, of course, you all know something or heard about Darwin if you haven't heard about Nietzsche. And Nietzsche is applying Darwin to philosophy. And he believes in this thing that in German is called the Übermensch, which we translate into English as Superman. And that's the overman, some people would rather express it. In other words, it's the future man that man is developing, evolving towards, men and women. You know, the overman, in other words, he keeps saying man is a bridge between, you know, the Untermenschen and the Übermenschen. A lot of this goes into Nazi thought. Nazi thought, you know, just wants to speed this process up and center it around Nordic culture with a little Wagnerianism thrown in. That's really what Nazism is. A little Wagner, Nordic culture, you know.